Okay, so what we're going to do is start with, this is a wash of black, just ivory black, and it's transparent kind of, so it's not heavy. But if you're working on a black gesso board, which is the best for this kind of project, you would need alizarin crimson and cadmium red medium. I'm using alizarin crimson for a first layer and ultramarine violet because I need the dark. But if you're working on black, alizarin crimson is transparent. So when you put it there, you're going to see the black. So no need for anything else, just alizarin crimson and ultramarine, and cadmium red medium. Okay, so let's start from, I'm going to take alizarin crimson and ultramarine violet, and I'm going to start from the center. So I did mention in the email that this is those lines that you see here, most of them are shadows, and when we're painting it, not painting it, I mean drawing it, you see the line, some of them here are actually highlights and shadows. That's what they are. So I'm starting with this dark color, which is great. You want to keep in mind that when it dries, it's going to dry darker, and hopefully it will be dark enough. With black gesso background, no problem, it will be dark. I'm using a round brush. I have more control over my brush stroke, and it's a nice thin, not thin, round, so it's not, doesn't give me harsh lines. Now I have this dark. Now I'm going to take, this is alizarin crimson and ultramarine violet. I would even go even darker than this, using a touch of black eventually for the deepest, for the darkest areas here. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start introducing cadmium red medium, and I'm going to push it into my alizarin crimson. So I'm not even using cadmium red medium by itself yet. I'm just pushing it into alizarin crimson. The reason I'm doing this right now, because I want to blend, have a soft blending. Between dark and light. I'm going to go back and push the dark out a bit. And we will be putting more, we will be using more colors eventually. We will be introducing for the highest and brightest parts, a touch of cadmium red light with our cadmium red medium. This is going to dry darker, and you'll notice on, if you're working on black gesso, it's going to be drying even a bit darker. Okay, go back to darks, continue here. With this, we just want to make sure that we don't have harsh lines in between the dark and light, because this is the roses are very delicate, so you don't really see harsh lines between the petals. And that's the problem with acrylics. Might have to switch to a larger, bigger brush eventually. I was looking at the other one too. There were two of them. The flowers, those red flowers, two references. The other one is beautiful too. More on the side. Oh, it's coming. It's looking really good. It would look even better when we start putting the strong highlights. It will pop. I can see here that this one doesn't need, doesn't need a lot of, actually it just needs a alizarin crimson. no ultramarine violets. And if you can't see it, if you're working on black, when on black gesso, and you can't really see it, see the difference in value between light and dark, just add a bit of cadmium red medium. I'm leaving a bit of the white line just for me to see where to the shape of the flower. I don't want to lose that because that's the whole thing about this painting is the beautiful shape. All right. Okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to stop and take a break. So this is alizarin crimson and it has a bit of ultramarine violet. Just because I know this is really dark in here. And then it gets highlighted. All right, very dark in that corner and here. And then it becomes lighter right here. And sometimes we have to wait for it to dry so we can highlight it more. That's good. Okay, so now let's work on this big one here, right here. It's going to take a bit of time, but I'm going to start with a bit of alizarin crimson, and I have here some black because this is quite dark on this side. So I'm just going to use black and alizarin crimson. So if you are again working on a black gesso board or on black gesso, alizarin crimson with less of the cadmium red light. Now you might have to at one point, because cadmium red light, when you put the first layer of alizarin crimson cadmium red light, it's going to dry, right? So if you work over that, you will find that the dark of the canvas is not showing anymore. So you might have to bring in some black or some ultramarine violet.
You're still referencing cadmium red medium, right?
Yes, I'm still using, right now I'm using black, ivory black and alizarin crimson for this dark here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to start when I want to show, yeah, I'll show you here. I'm putting right now alizarin crimson and cadmium red medium because this part is lighter right here. Right? I can see the light color of the red in here. And now I'm using actually a wider brush. I'm using a flat brush. Bright. So now I'm going to introduce black into alizarin crimson again, because this is darker here, right here. And I'm going to blend it with the alizarin crimson and cadmium red medium. And it works well when both paint or colors are wet. Okay, again, whenever I see darker shade of red, I'm just going to pull some alizarin crimson and black.
Are you recording?
Yes. Do you want to ask a question?
No, I usually put myself on mute when you're recording.
Yeah, I am right now.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No problem. And it's good that it takes time to dry, because it allows red takes time to dry, because we can blend. Okay, let's take cadmium red medium with a bit of alizarin, because it's still kind of dark in here. I'm blending. I've noticed that the camera shows a harsher brushstroke. So if I'm looking at the monitor, my brushstrokes look a bit harsher than they are here. It's just the camera. I don't know why it does that. I'm not technical. Very strange. It's not like that in here. I mean, I'm looking at the monitor and it's really kind of harsh colors. They're softer here. Sometimes I use the corner of my brush and I just blend. Okay, that's good. Okay. I'm just going to turn it around a bit. I'm going to try not to turn the canvas around, but let's see. Okay, so now this is when I need to blend softly in here. And it's a bit harder. Okay, that's good. Eventually, we're going to be using cadmium red lights with cadmium medium for the strong highlights. But for now, that looks good. That looks good. Okay, so now I can see here that this part is really highlighted in the reference. So I'm going to take a bit of cadmium red light. I'm sorry, cadmium red medium. I'm just going to leave cadmium red light to the last, the strong highlights. Okay, let's do that. Some alizarin. Sometimes when I find that I'm putting a highlighted, like highlight color, and I find that I'm getting a strong line in between the light and dark, I just introduce a bit of alizarin crimson to soften in between, and it works really well. Right, now so this part I was working on, the big part right here is dry, and the more when it dries, it goes darker. So I'm gonna touch it a bit. It's still wet, so I'm gonna pick up, it's a little bit wet. I'm gonna pick up cadmium red medium and a bit of alizarin, and I'm just gonna try to introduce this highlight in here without lifting the color underneath, because technically I should be waiting a bit more. This shouldn't be sticky when I apply this layer, because I am taking a risk. If the paint is sticky, especially with reds, have to be careful. Okay. All right. Good. All right. I think we can work on this part here. At least if we could just do this part, would be great tonight. Okay, alizarin crimson, black. I'm really liking this project. But this is a perfect project for a black gesso background. You don't even have to, are you finding that using alizarin crimson is necessary or not necessary?
Yeah,
Yes, okay,
I am, Maria.
okay,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
okay. I'm darkening the corner, so I'm adding a little bit more black in that corner in here. I don't want it to be 100% black, but just dark red, really dark. And I do have to be careful. Otherwise, if I mix my paint too much, I'm gonna risk lifting this paint. Okay. Oops, just a bit more water. We're going to take a bit of medium, cadmium red medium, mix it with a bit of alizarin, and I can see here there's a bit of highlight. It's amazing how the paint mixes really well. We don't get a harsh line, that's what I'm trying to say, when the paint is still wet. It's like using oil. Okay. It needs one more layer, but I'm gonna let it dry because I don't want to take a chance that's gonna lift if I touch it right now.